Hey guys, Natalie here. If you're new, welcome to my channel. I'd also like to welcome back all of my great subscribers. Thank you for being back. I like making crafting tutorials, particularly Farmhouse, and today it's all about the 4th of July. Yeah, I know we're in May, but I figure what better thing to look forward to than making crafts for the best time of the year. Well, in my opinion anyway. So you new guys that are watching me for the first time, it would be really great if you could like, subscribe, also hit the notification bell so this way YouTube will inform you, will hopefully inform you when I'm back. You could also follow me on social media at Nat Creates Crafts. So I did a good job, didn't mess it up. Okay, so back to the 4th of July. So yeah, we're going to be making crafts for the 4th using very few Dollar Tree items, Walmart items, but most importantly, recycled items. Things we would normally throw out in the trash. I actually found one piece in a parking lot of all places, but yes, to me, trash can always, see I messed up already, can always be turned into treasure as long as you put your mind to it. So thank you very much for being here with me today, guys. I can't help myself. And let's get crafting. Our first project is the welcome flag. You're going to need one white placemat, lace beige wired burlap ribbon, jute cord, but you can use the one at Dollar Tree, a bamboo skewer or a stick, Mod Podge, Waverly chalk paint in the colors plaster and truffle, paint brushes, spray paint in the color red, white, and blue, glue gun, glue sticks, and scissors. You're going to start with 6 pieces of the ribbon. You're going to cut about 1 inch over the width of your placemat. We're then going to remove the wire from each end. It just makes it more manageable when applying it to the placemat. You're going to do that for all of the pieces. Once you have the wire removed, you're going to then take your placemat, pretty side up, and then you're going to take your ribbon and you're going to place them across. I cut the ribbon about giving 1 inch over on either side. Now you're going to cut 3 for the height with 1 inch on either side as well. I then measured across for the width of the 3 ribbons for the height and then placed my ruler. And then I'm going to take some painter's tape and I'm going to align it with my ruler. Once I have it down, I'm going to then remove the placemat and then I'm going to cut, leaving 3 ribbons on either side. I'm going to then paint the first 3 with the color red and then the last 3 in the color white. Once my paint is dry, I'm then going to apply another piece of the painter's tape along the side of the original one, and I'm going to remove the old tape. I am then going to paint the remainder of my ribbon along with the horizontal ones in blue. While I'm waiting for the ribbons to dry, I'm going to take my bamboo skewer and I'm going to cut it, giving 1 inch overhang on either side of the height of the placemat. I'm going to then mark it with my pencil and I'm going to cut it with my pliers. But if you don't have pliers, you can always use scissors, but I love my tools, so I'm going to use my pliers to cut the skewer. Now I'm going to take some jute and I'm going to wrap it around the skewer. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the top on the side. Then I'm going to attach the jute and wrap it around the top of the skewer. And then I'm going to wrap the jute around the entire skewer. When I get to the end, I'm ahead of myself. When I get to the end, I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue and cover it up and then cut the excess. I then took about an 8-foot piece of jute, and yes, the crochet needle is out again, but don't be afraid, it's just single crochet. You're going to twist it and then you're going to pull the jute through the hole. It's that simple. Twist, pull through, twist, pull through. You're going to do that till you get to the end of your jute string. You can always go back and look so you can give it a try. When you get to the end, we're just going to pull it straight through. If you don't feel comfortable doing the crochet, you can always braid it. I'm now going to take my skewer and we're going to attach the crochet chain to the skewer. What I did was I'm going to take the end and I'm going to pull it through the last hole of the chain, and then I'm going to glue that, but just to the chain and not to the skewer. I'm going to then repeat that to the other end. Now what I did was I end up permanently gluing the right end to the skewer, but not the left end, so this way it can come in and out. The birds are getting a little enjoyment from the feeder I did last week. At least they're using it. Now that our ribbons are completely dry, it's going to be time to assemble them onto the mat. I removed the tape, then I placed the placemat down with the right side up, and I laid out the ribbons, red, white, red, white, red, and white. I then laid out the horizontal pieces just to make sure everything fit correctly and everything was aligned. Once everything is aligned correctly, it's time to adhere the ribbons to the placemat. All we're going to use is some hot glue. So I applied the first ribbon, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the glue on either side of the ribbon, and then we're going to adhere that to the placemat. It's that simple. So you're going to do that for each ribbon, alternating it red then white, and just use a little bit of hot glue on the edges and then lay it right on the placemat. I did that for all of the strips. Remember to also glue either end to secure it. Now it's time to address the horizontal ribbon. You're going to make sure the first one is aligned, then you're going to glue the top, and you're going to repeat the process as you did with the other ribbon, adding glue to either side and attaching it to the mat. Don't forget to glue the very bottom. You're going to repeat that process for the other two remaining ribbons. Now that our ribbons are all glued down, I then flip the mat and I cut the ribbons on all the sides just to make them even. And then I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm going to fold the flaps down and secure it to the back of the placemat. Now that our ends are secure, we're going to take another piece of ribbon and we're going to glue it to the back. This is going to hold the bamboo skewer. So you're going to secure the ends, and then we're going to secure that to the back of the placemat. Just remember not to glue the top and bottom, so this way your skewer will be able to go through. Now it's time to make our welcome sign. I'm going to use a Dollar Tree cutting board. I'm going to place it over the welcome sign that I printed. I'm going to use some Mod Podge and some jute. We're going to soak that through. And then we're going to start forming the word welcome with our glued jute. It's going to get a little messy, but this part was actually fun. Brought me back to school days. While you're forming the word welcome, you will probably end up having to cut the jute right where the C ends, and then again where the top of the M meets, and then the E will be separate. This way your word will lay flat. You're going to let that completely dry, and once it is, then you're going to take, I used my Cricut spatula and I just kind of scraped underneath and gently removed it. I'll also have that word linked in the description box below. I then picked any excess glue off carefully. Now we're going to take our flag and we're going to place the welcome where we would like it. Then when I liked the placement, I then added a little bit of hot glue to the back, and then I glued it right in the center of our blue. Now it's time for my favorite part, as you know, distressing. I'm going to use the Waverly chalk paint in the color white. I also did use plaster, I just didn't show. and we're going to just distress the flag just to soften it up a bit and make it look a little bit more farmhouse. So I distressed the blue and the red using the white, and I also did go over it with a little bit of plaster. And then on the white, I used the Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, and I did the exact same thing. I like using a napkin. That really helps remove the majority of the paint off the brush. This way it doesn't go on too heavily. Now it's time to put on the hanger. I didn't particularly care how long it was, so I just shortened it up, and I redid the same steps as before, gluing the end, cutting off the excess, and making sure not to glue it right to the skewer. Then we're able to slide it through and then attach it. Remember not to keep your flag outside since we didn't use any E6000, but it could stay under a covered porch or inside your home. Our second project is going to be the Happy 4th of July sign. You're going to need a piece of scrap wood about 4 feet in height. I actually found this on the ground in the Home Depot parking lot. Score! Cricut accessories, colors black, red, and blue, clear contact paper, but if you don't have a Cricut, you can always use sticky letters found at the Dollar Tree. A welcome 4th of July sign, jute cord, but you can also use the jute found at the Dollar Tree, Waverly chalk paint in the colors Plaster and Truffle, some paintbrushes, E6000, glue gun, glue sticks, and scissors. We're going to start with our board and our colors Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle and our stipple brush, and we're going to distress the edges of the board. We're going to leave the center of the board blank, so this way our vinyl letters can adhere better, but we're going to end up distressing the entire thing. But we're going to start off with the edges. I then went to Cricut Design Space where I cut out my design. I'll leave a link for this in the description box below, SVG. So then I weeded my design. And then once I was done weeding the design, I then placed them, oh, I'm ahead of myself again. I then placed them individually on my mat. And then I put the clear contact paper on each of them individually. Then I burnished them. Once I was done burnishing them, I then placed them onto the board. So this way I knew exactly where I wanted each piece to go. If you notice, there's a blank space where the U is supposed to be. That is where we're going to put our little flower from the welcome sign. I just detached it. It was pretty easy. It's on a chain, and it's going to go right in between the J and the L. Once I was happy with the placement, I then peeled back the vinyl and then I burnished it right onto the board. Now, if you're going to use a wood board, I would highly recommend that you paint it first. This way, the vinyl will adhere a little bit better. Since this was a PVC board, I had no issues. Now it's time to finish distressing the board. I then took the truffle and I finished distressing the rest of the board. Then I went over the vinyl letters with the plaster just to tune down the shininess of the vinyl, also to give it a more rustic look. I also did distress my little flower. I then took some E6000 and some hot glue since this board is going to be outside. And then I placed it right between the J and the L. Finally, I took some jute and I'm going to be wrapping it on the top of the board. I then glued it to the back and just wrapped it around about 5 times. And then I glued it to the back, and then I cut off the excess. I'm going to repeat that process on the bottom of the board, and then our board is all done. I also did spray it with a clear protective coat just because it was going to be outside. But for a free board, I think this turned out great. Our third project is the USA banner. You're going to need 3 galvanized welcome signs, 1 USA glitter sign, Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, paint brushes, E6000, a glue gun, and some glue sticks. We're going to start by removing the design in the middle of each of our galvanized sign using some acetone, but be careful, it ruined my mat. It comes off fairly easy. Once I was all done, I then removed the hanger from each of the little galvanized signs. I then took my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster and my stipple brush, and I distressed the edges of each of the pieces, just to give it a more rustic look. I then took off the burlap from the USA sign. It came off fairly easy because it was just attached with some hot glue. I then took the Waverly chalk paint in the plaster and my brush, and I just distressed the letters just to take down the glitteriness, I guess, of the letters. When I was all done, I then placed each letter on the galvanized sign, attaching it with some E6000 and a little bit of hot glue for an instant hold. When I was done gluing all the letters, I then placed them the way I would like them to hang, but I wanted it to be permanent. So then I used the E6000 and the hot glue again, and I made sure not to get any on the holes, and I attached them. I let the glue dry overnight, and when it was all cured, I had one solid piece. I then took a piece of leftover jute, don't throw anything away. I then glued the tip. This way it made it easier to thread through the holes. That's just a little trick, a little crafter's trick. So I then threaded the jute in and out of the holes, and then I just tied the ends with a simple knot. You can add a bow, but I just liked it this way. I just tied it and then cut off the ends. This craft was so quick and easy, and I really loved the result. Our final project is going to be the 4th of July candle holders. You're going to need 3 spaghetti jars, 1 large and 2 small. You know those are my favorite, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Some spray paint in the colors red, white, and blue. Cricut accessories and vinyl also in the colors red, white, and blue. Jute cord. Some candle votives. We're going to need 3. Glue gun, glue sticks, and scissors. We're going to start by spraying our jars. 1 red, the middle one, the big one, white, and the last one blue. If you don't have any spray paint, you could always use whatever paint you have on hand. I then cut out this design on my Cricut. I'll leave the SVG and the printable in the description box below. I'm going to then weed the vinyl. Then I'm going to burnish it, layering it using the same piece and burnishing it again until my designs are complete. Now we're going to apply our vinyl onto our jars. Just make sure that it's centered. We're then going to place the design, burnish it, and then peel back the contact paper. My red jar got a blue firecracker, and my blue jar got a red firecracker. Now that we're done applying our vinyl, we're going to take some Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and we're going to distress the blue and red jar. You could distress as much or as little as you'd like I say, it's just to take down the shininess. For the white jar, we're going to use the color truffle, and we're going to do exactly the same. Also giving it, you guessed it, that farmhouse look. Now I'm going to take a little piece of jute cord and I'm going to wrap it around the mouth of both the red and the blue jar, just adding some glue as needed till it is completely covered. Then cutting off the excess. Now I crocheted a little bit more, and I wrapped it around the base of my jar just because of the shapes of the jars. I thought it looked a little cuter. So I glued that to the bottom of both the red and the blue. For the white jar, I crocheted a bit to cover the top of the jar. With the single crochet, it was able to wrap around the mouth of the jar. Oh my gosh, about 2 times. Now that I've regained my composure, we're going to take the last piece of jute and we're going to wrap it around the bottom of the jar. Then we're going to glue the end and cut it off. I just can't help myself. So now we're going to take our Dollar Tree votives, and they fit perfectly in the mouths of the jar. But the best part about these crafts is that they were mostly recycled and took only a few dollars to make. Thanks for crafting with me. Remember, you can also follow me on social media at Nat Creates Crafts. I hope you subscribe so that this way we'll see each other again the next time. Until then, happy crafting, God bless, and take care.